So in this video, we're going to continue working with equations, and this time we're going to be solving multi-step equations. And it's the same basic rules as before. First off, look at each side and simplify the equation, each side of the equation. Then try to get the variable alone through SADMEP. I really like that, SADMEP. This math lesson is brought to you by SADMEP's Awesome Sauce. Do you use SADMEP? And then lastly, remember to keep the equation balanced. So let's just do a few together because you got plenty of practice on this coming up. So I want to work a few of these out with you. So yeah, I'll do 1, 3, and 5, and I'll let you do the other ones here in just a moment. But let's look at it. So first off, it said simplify each side of the equation. So I'm going to look at this side. I'm going to look at this expression. There's nothing I can do with this. It's as far as I can take it. I'll look at this side. Is there anything else I can do with it? No. So now let's do our SADMEP. All right. So we are trying to get this guy alone. So let's look at, can I get rid of any subtraction and addition? Yes, I can. I can get rid of this subtraction first. That's the first thing I want to do. So how do I do that? Well, to get rid of subtraction, I use addition. All right. Now, and always remember to keep it equation balanced. Whatever I do to one side, I must do the other. So a minus 11 plus an 11, since these are what we call opposites or additive inverses, if you can recall from that, they're going to cancel out, become 0, and that gives me 3x is equal to 22 plus 11 is 33. Now that I've done my S and A, subtraction and addition, I look for division and multiplication, which I do have this. So what is the opposite of this? Since the 3 and x are multiplying, the opposite would be division. And I would divide by on both sides. When I do, 3 cancels out, and that gives me x is equal to 33 divided by 3 is 11. And I'm done. All right, so let's look at number 3 together. Step 1, simplify each side of the equation first. So I'll look at this one. Can I do anything? I have 2.4z plus 1.2z minus 6.5. Well, notice that this is 2.4z and this is a plus 1.2z. This is almost like saying I have 2.4 apples and I'm adding 1.2 apples. These are what we call, I'm going to put a little note here, like terms. Okay, you're going to hear that terminology a lot. But what you're getting ready to do is you're simplifying this side because these two are alike. They're both z's. So I can actually add those together. 2.4 plus 1.2. Well, I can do a little bit of math on the side here. That gives me 3.6z minus 6.5 equals 0.7. I've simplified this side of the equation, and this side there's nothing I can do with. So I now want to get this z by itself by using SADMEP. So let's get rid of our subtractions and additions. I'm going to look. Hey, I have a subtraction. How do I get rid of subtraction? I add. So I'm going to add 6.5. All right, and I'm going to do that. Whoops, I made a mark there. I shouldn't have marked. I'm going to do that to both sides. Well, negative 6.5 and a positive 6.5 cancels out, and that gives me 3.6z is equal to, and this right here, I can do some math on the side. I can go 6.5, 0.7. I'm adding these together. And carry 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry the 1. This is going to give me 7.2. Okay. Now I've done the SA part. Now I need to look at my division and multiplication. Well, I do have multiplication here. How do I get rid of multiplication? I divide. And I've done this long enough now that I know 7.2 divided by 3.6 is equal to the number 2. All right, so we've solved for that one. Notice something that I've been doing. I've been doing all my work vertically, and I do a little scrap work on the side here and there. And this is the way I kind of want you to do it. Your work needs to be vertically. It will save you hassle later on down the road. All right, number 5. So, same concept. Simplify each side of the equation. So, I have this. Can I simplify any of this? Well, yeah, I can. There's actually two ways of solving this. So, I'm actually going to take this and show you both ways. All right? All right, so I'm going to do it two different ways here. I'm going to write it down to the side. And the first way we're going to do it is we're going to look at it this way. We're going to simplify this side of the equation. We're going to follow that rule. Well, let's say you don't know how to simplify it. There is a way of doing it, but let's say you don't. All right, so according to you, this has been simplified. So now what do? We do SADMEP. So we do our addition and subtraction first. What do we see? We can't do parentheses yet because that's at the end of MEP. So we need to do subtraction and addition. So I have a -7. So right now I can get rid of that -7 by going +7 to both sides. All right, when I do, that cancels out, and that gives me 2 times A plus 7 equals 16. All right, now my job is to continue with SADMEP. I've done all my, I did my first subtraction and addition, got rid of that. Now I can look for multiplication and division. Well, I have a multiplication here, which is this guy right here. How do I get rid of multiplied by 2? Well, I divide by 2 on both sides. When I do, that leaves me with A plus 7 in parentheses equals 8. Well, now I have continue SADMEP. I can do work inside my parentheses because I don't have any exponents. Well, what's inside the parentheses? A plus 7. Well, I could rewrite this as A plus 7 equals 8. And how do I get rid of a plus 7? I subtract. So -7 on both sides. And I get A is equal to 1. This is one way of doing things. Now, there is another way. So remember, that first thing that I talked to you about is simplifying the equation. I want you to look at this. So we're going to look at it. Right now it looks confusing, but look at what this is saying. This says 2 times A plus 7. This can actually be simplified, and we can rewrite this through something that's called the distributive property. Okay? And what it's telling you to do is to take this 2 and multiply it by everything on the inside of the parentheses. All right? So 2 times A gives me 2A. 2 times 7 gives me a plus 14. And all of this is being subtracted by that 7 equals 9. All right, now I can keep working this out. Hey, I can simplify this even more. This would be 2A plus 7 equals 9. All right, because 14 minus 7 is 9. Now I can continue following SADMEP, and I subtract 7 on both sides. When I do, the 7 cancels out, and that gives me 2A is equal to 2. Then I notice I'm still following SADMEP. I can get rid of this 2 by division. And I get A is equal to 1. And it's the same thing. It is the same thing. Two different approaches. One, I use SADMEP all the way through. And 2 is the distributive property. Now, here is the thing. Either way will work, but I want you to get into the habit of using the distributive property. This is something that's going to be very, very useful. So let's talk about the distributive property one more time. When you see something like this is just a little review. You should have seen this before. But when you see something like this, it's 3 times something inside of parentheses. It's just basically telling you to take this 3 and multiply by everything in there. So this would be 3x, and this would be plus 9. This is all the distributive property is. I'm distributing this 3 across everything inside the parentheses. All right, so this is something that I want you to try to remember. We're going to be talking about this several times throughout the year, but If you forget this, and a SAT MEP should keep you on track. All right. So let's look at, oh, wait a minute, that was, so we just solved that A was 1, sorry. I want you to try 2, 4, and 6 on your own, and then come back and check your answers. All right, so here are your answers for 2, 4, and 6. Check them, make sure you're right. You know how to find me if you're stuck on this. Now, I'm gonna leave number 7 to you, but I am going to give you a little bit of a hint, and it's this equation. Surface area of a prism is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. Here is your little hint to solving this problem. Now, I really want you to come talk to me about this one. This is a very good problem to discuss if you're stuck on it, okay? Let's look at number 8. It says the amount of money in your savings account after M months is represented by this equation. After how many months do you have 765 in your account? So this A represents the amount of money that you have after you've waited so many M months. So you have $765. That means I'm going to basically plug that into my A. I'm going to plug that into my equation. And my job now is to simply solve it. And this is all I'm going to do for you on number 8 to help you out. I think you can figure the rest out on your own. So again, 7 and 8, I've given you a couple of hints on these because they're a little bit on the tough side. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.